Hey everybody, Alex here for Nerdy Inc. Coming at you with a Star Wars The Force Awakens review. This is my series of thoughts, not necessarily George Lucas's. Just because I wanted to go into do a spoiler video, because I wanted to talk about specific plot points, and I'm going to do this a little bit more stream of conscious than I do normal reviews. I'm not going to write it out and then sort of read it to you as a review. I'm just going to sort of do it as these are my thoughts, a little bit more in depth than George Lucas's review. That being said, this movie, Star Wars The Force Awakens, was not disappointing by any means. Obviously, it was not prequel level letdown, but it wasn't a mind-blowing, brand new, amazing experience. This was a movie that was exactly what I was expecting, which is a really weird sensation when you watch a movie to say, this is exactly what I thought it was going to be. So it was just exactly what I thought it was going to be. There were plot points. I walked into the movie with my friends, and I had a list of thoughts, and I'm sure that you guys did too, because none of these were particularly hard to figure out. But I walked in there saying, Han Solo's gonna die. Kylo Ren is his son, and I'm adamant that I still think that Rey is Luke's daughter, and that was confirmed enough for me that I think that is the case. So I'll get into that in a sec. And I would say to my friends, this is going to be a fun movie. It's going to be full of lots of emotion, lots of drama, lots of great visuals, but it's going to be a very safe, familiar story. And it was very much a safe, familiar story, because in many ways it was just A New Hope again. Just with the new characters, different sort of power structure. So it was very, very familiar. And that's exactly what I got out of the movie. So it wasn't surprising, it wasn't new, it wasn't astounding. It was exactly what I was expecting. So, not a negative, not a positive, that is a straight middle of the road characteristic. So that being said, were there negatives? Yes. I think one of them was I was very disappointed in the underwhelming use of Captain Phasma. She had very little to do in the movie, just sort of was there, answered a few questions, capitulated pretty quickly when they said shut down the shield. She's like, alright, you got me. And that was that. So I'm kind of surprised that she didn't have a bigger role in the film. And I'm not sure if she's still alive. Because they mentioned that whole, we're going to throw her in the garbage chute. So that would imply death, but granted, we've seen people make it out of trash compactors before. And ultimately, yeah, I guess she could show up in a later movie and get fleshed out a little bit more, but all in all, she was a little underused. Now that I think about it, though, she compared herself to Boba Fett, and Boba Fett was horribly underused in Return of the Jedi, so maybe it all comes full circle. So Captain Phasma was disappointing. I was also a little bit disappointed with John Williams' music, actually. It was very, very, very generic. There were the familiar themes, sort of the Force theme, the Luke Skywalker theme, the Han and Leia theme, those were all there. But with the exception of Rey's theme, Rey has an amazing theme, everything else is just sort of very standard music. So I'm going to listen to the soundtrack in a couple days just on my own, just listen to the music, but nothing really jumped out at me in terms of the music. And the only other negative is almost a backhanded compliment, but it's interesting nonetheless, and that is, we all knew there was going to be CGI in this movie, despite they said practical effects, obviously there's going to be CGI. Unfortunately, with so many practical effects and practical stunts and explosions and real sets, that made the CGI look worse by comparison. The scene that really stuck out to me as fake looking was the squid monsters in Han Solo's freighter. They in a set where everything else is real. It was very clear. It stuck out like a sore thumb. That is fake. That is not real. It's not tricking my eye. So that was a big sort of shocker for me, as well as Maz Kanata and Grand Admiral Snoke. Both of those characters, the CGI, they did the motion capture. Both of them stuck out because everything else looked so real. Um, Snoke had that sort of orc from the Hobbit movies in him. That's what he reminded me of. And Maz Kanata, I don't know what she reminded me of, just a little orange person. Both of those characters looked fake by comparison, which is a very weird sensation. Because it's weird because had there been more CGI, they would have blended better, but everything else would have looked faker and the whole thing would have fallen apart. So that's a weird conundrum to have because you can't do everything with practical effects, but unfortunately the practical effects look worse. Or the CGI looks worse next to practical effects. So take that as you may. It didn't ruin anything for me. It didn't take me out of the film too much. It was just on occasion I'd be sort of like, ugh. And then the only other slight complaint was there was just a smidge too much fan service. There was there were always going to be those little lines, those little references, I have a bad feeling about this. All of that was going to make a comeback, and I was fine with that. I was ready for that. I was even welcoming it. There was only one or two parts where you sort of said, yes, we understand this is Star Wars. And that was, to me, the line, the place that was over the top was when Finn accidentally bumps the space chessboard and the little monsters show up. Didn't really do anything for me. I was like, yeah, we understand that you can play space chess on the Millennium Falcon. Just small, little nitpicky things, not big negatives at all, and certainly didn't ruin the movie for me. So those are my negatives, and that's it, which is very good because I have a ton of positives I want to get into right now. I think one of the things I loved about this movie most was the depiction of the Force. Previously, we had been promised by Yoda in Empire Strikes Back that physical strength, this crude matter, as he called it, pales in comparison to the Force. The Force is this spiritual, mental harmony that surrounds all life. And the prequels, unfortunately, sort of went the opposite way with that. And they did sort of, everyone can just fight more. And Yoda fought with a lightsaber, and Palpatine fought, and everyone fought, and there was lots of fighting. And contrast that with, in this film, Kylo Ren is not a great fighter. He's got this shoddily made lightsaber, he swings like a lumberjack, he's not particularly good with a lightsaber, but he's strong with the Force. And whether that's the mental abilities to just eviscerate someone's brain with the Force, and extract whatever information he needs, stopping lasers with his mind. The Force was proven to be something very, very powerful and very, very beyond just physical brute strength. And I loved that about the Force. You saw that then in Rey when the Force awoke in her, that she could sort of do the same. And it was great. I loved that. And those characters, all the characters as a whole, I liked quite a bit. Rey, I still believe, is the daughter of Luke Skywalker. That was basically confirmed to me when Maz Kanata said, this was Luke Skywalker and his father's before him, now it's calling to you. To me, done. She's Rey Skywalker. So I still believe that wholeheartedly. There's no official confirmation, but to me, yes. I loved her character. I loved everything about her character. She was fun. She was funny. She was relatable, but also had that she was great. But you could sort of sense the fear in her, sort of the risk averse nature. It was great. I loved everything about her. She was very well written. Finn, very similar. They had great chemistry because he also was filled with fear, but knowing he was a traitor, he abandoned his post. That was a great sort of dynamic that they had, was they were both sort of afraid and had these pasts that they were running from that they didn't like. But Rey kept trying to go back in the first half of the film, and I don't really know why. I don't know if there's more that we're going to find out about Jakku, or if they just hoped that we would forget about that. But she kept trying to go back, and I don't know why. So I'm curious about that. She's got some sort of almost like an indentured servitude sort of deal with those guys there, so who knows. Poe Dameron was great. A little smaller part, but he was a supporting character, so that's fine. He was hilarious. He's the new Han Solo, I think, is what I think he's openly said. I'm the new Han Solo. Great character. I love Oscar Isaac as an actor. If you've ever seen Ex Machina, he's fantastic in that. I really liked his character. He was great. And he was the new Han Solo because old Han Solo, everything came full circle there. Harrison Ford, the minute he was very enthusiastic about this movie, I was like, they're probably going to kill him because he wanted to die in Return of the Jedi. He begged George Lucas to die, and George Lucas was like, no, we wanted to have a happy ending, all of you together. So to me, this was him and Lawrence Kasdan attempting to do what they thought should have happened in Return of the Jedi. So it didn't surprise me that he died. I felt that was very well done, his death. There was that great moment where he thought he was helping Kylo Ren, but it was actually his own downfall. That was really, really... We as an audience knew what was coming, and we knew when he said, I need help. That's because earlier Kylo Ren said, well, I don't know if I can do this. So we were sitting there sort of being filled with this dread while he thought he was filling with hope. So, that was a tough scene. They handled it very, very well. As well as you can handle something like that, because at the end of the day, killing a main character is something that I love seeing in movies, but can quite frequently fall apart. So, Kylo Ren as a whole, I liked Kylo Ren a lot. He had this great sort of just fit of rage to him. He was angsty, not in the Anakin Skywalker complaining way, but you could tell he was this rebellious teenager. He went off in a fit of rage and just trashed his own room. It was amazing. I loved him. I loved his dynamic with Hux. They had this great sort of, I don't know their rankings. They seemed to be on equal footing. So that was very enjoyable watching him and Hux work together. And Kylo Ren had this great. The way they fought with the lightsabers was full of rage and full of emotion, and I loved their lightsaber battles at the end. And from what I can tell, he's still alive. He just sort of fell over. The earth sort of split between them, and they went in different directions. So Kylo Ren is still alive, and I'm glad about that. I was so worried he was going to be a one-off villain like Darth Maul. So I'm glad they didn't go that route with him. The one problem I have with Kylo Ren, and by extension Snoke and Hux, and by extension the other 6 movies, is that the dark side is fine when you're trying to tell a classic good versus evil story. If you're not having these super rich characters, you're gonna say Palpatine is evil because he's a power hungry maniac. He just loves being evil. It gets a little problematic when you introduce an entire government system founded on that idea, because clearly Snoke and Hux and Kylo Ren are all, this is a very, very, very structured way they have this going, and they gotta know they're evil. So I'd like to see more of a justification of what they're doing. Kylo Ren has a couple different parts in the film where he straight up says, I'm worried I'm being dragged towards the light, which is an utterly ridiculous thing to worry about if our understanding of the light is just good. If he was out for power, if he was truly just a power-hungry, selfish person like most Sith usually are, as established in the original 6 movies, then that's fine for his own personal things. I like being evil, because all I care about is me. But to have him say, I feel these good feelings, and I'm afraid that I feel good, just sounds kind of dumb to me. There needs to be a better explanation for the merits of the dark side beyond just your own personal desires. There's something that if Kylo Ren is worried he's going to the light side, why is he worried that he's going to the light side? Is there something that the Jedi have previously been practicing that they find sinister? Maybe we don't, but they find to be bad. Is there some benefit to the dark side beyond just what you can do for yourself? Can you really create life? Can you influence midichlorians? Can you do more good things using dark side magic? These are some great things that would actually make it a little bit clearer why there would be a group of people on the dark side. who have a sort of collective goal as Sith Lords, rather than just I like power, I like my personal goals, I like being able to use any ways to achieve my personal goals. So that's side note. It's not bothering me yet, but if they were to find a way to do something with it down the line, that could really, really, really add some richness to the sort of mythology of the Force. As for the other supporting characters, Princess Leia, C-3PO, those were just glorified cameos as far as I'm concerned, and I'm fine with that. I didn't want too much, shoving all the fan service in my face. I like that she was just there tangentially, made a couple calls, was clearly in charge, but she wasn't pivotal to the story. So, and then the other final thing with the characters is I am, so far as it looks, Luke is not Darkseid. He is truly in exile. I'm okay with that. If that's going to be a big twist at the end of the second movie, maybe. But as it looks right now, he's on the good side, and I'm fine with that route. The action in the film, I already mentioned a little bit with the lightsaber fights, but the action as a whole, I really loved. There was the TIE fighters, the X-Wings. I'm a sucker for TIE fighters and X-Wings, so I was glad to just see a TIE fighter and X-Wing dogfight. I liked the atmospheric battles as opposed to space battles. It was a cool thing that we never saw in Star Wars before, because back in the 70s and 80s it would be pretty close to impossible to do, and then in the 2000s, and I don't know why they didn't do it. Who cares? So it was a really cool little twist that we've never seen before, and it looked really great. Just watching the water sort of spit up as they streaked down by the surface of the lake was great. It was really, really, really cool. So there is that notion that George Lucas started, I think, to rationalize with the prequels, which was poetry, it rhymes, every stanza sort of rhymes with the last. And that's what I thought this movie was going to be, very, very safe. I sort of knew they weren't going to take any risks. And that's fine, because they were just trying to set the stage. I think this is our last time with a Death Star or a big doomsday weapon. I think they would be dumb to try to do that a fourth time, in terms of, from a writing standpoint, not necessarily from the Empire standpoint. I think we're done with that. I think this was sort of the almost third time's a charm attempt. They failed. And I think we're going to get very new stories. J.J. Abrams, clearly they brought him on to say, I want you to just retell the story, hit a lot of the same emotional beats, set the stage for a new generation to go, and I think we're really going to get some great movies coming up. Episode 8, I have a ton of confidence in Episode 8 because of mainly the creative crew. Rian Johnson, he directed several episodes of good old Breaking Bad, some of the best, including the best episode of Breaking Bad, actually, Ozymandias. So he's a very great director. He also directed the film Looper, which I'm a big fan of. It's the things he does are very dark, very risky, and I think that's the great way to, now that Disney has earned our goodwill with Episode 7, I think they will now take it in a stronger direction, and they will say, now we're going to tell some riskier stories, and sort of really push the envelope on what we're doing, because now we've earned your trust. We told you we can do Star Wars, now let us really do Star Wars. And I think Rian Johnson, as the second film tends to be the darkest, because 3-act structure, I think the next film is going to be very, very dark, very, very good, and very, very risky. So I'm looking forward to Episode 8. I'm also really, really, really looking forward to the spin-off movies. Basically, it is a very subtle flaw that I'm willing to push to the back of my mind, is that it's very unlikely, and this is a very small universe, when you say that the same lineage of 3 or 4 different families are behind every big event in the galaxy. The fact that Anakin, Luke, Leia, and Han Solo and the droids are everywhere. They've been pulling the strings on everything all these years. That's something that's a little unrealistic to me. And so I'm glad we're going to start seeing these other stories in the universe to really flesh out and do some great world building. We can finally see, well, there's really other important characters over here that were doing these things, or other important characters over here doing these things. So Rogue One, to me, is a fascinating concept, excellent movie premise, I am 100% on board with it. I'm very excited for it. Almost more than I was this movie. Not as much just because this movie's a return to Star Wars, but the next movie has so much promise, and I'm very excited to see how they do these sort of smaller stories. Other than that, that is really all I have to say about the movie for now. It was exactly what I expected. That's not good or that's not bad, that's just it is. The movie was very well made, hit a lot of great emotional beats, was ultimately very, very safe and familiar, but looks like it was setting the stage for some very great new storytelling down the line. I'm going to see it again tomorrow, which is today when I'm posting this video, so I'm curious. I don't think I'm going to have any new thoughts, but now that when I was watching the movie, I was running through all these theories in my head, like, oh, clearly this is going to happen now, clearly this is going to happen now that I've seen the movie, now that I know what happens, I'm going to go back a second time and just so I can watch it and just enjoy the story a second time and really, really think about it, see if I picked up on anything else, but ultimately I just want to just experience it again now that my hype is satisfied, now that my thirst for Star Wars has been quenched. I'm going to go back a second time and I just want to think about it and just watch it and just enjoy it a second time through. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think about this style video. This was just a very, very, very free-flowing video. Very much not in the style of what we typically do. So if you like this, let me know. And if you have thoughts of your own, please let me know, because I love talking about Star Wars and I want to talk about Star Wars. So please comment below, please tweet me, please do whatever, because I would love to talk about some Star Wars stuff. Other than that, if you've enjoyed, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, much appreciated, and I will see you guys next time.